Okay. It is 11:20 local. I thought Nada was going to hit the music to start, but whatever. Keeping with the theme of the night. I'm Matt Norlander. Yes, I am podcasting from my hotel room at after 2 a.m. Eastern. There are sickos in the YouTube chat right now. Most of you are going to listen to this at some point Monday morning. I'm genuinely curious how many people got to their phone and realized what was happening and are really coming to it, because it has been an insane past 4 or 5 hours here. But guess what? It's not just me. And if you thought John Calipari is going to go to Arkansas, we're getting there. But if you thought it was just going to be me solo or me with GP, I got news for you. I don't know where Gary Parrish is, but I got Kyle Boone right from my hotel room here. It is ridiculous. So here's the basics, and then KB's going to set me up with some questions. We'll kind of give you the basics. GP and I are going to do a podcast on CBS Sports Network. Try not to shake the table, KB. We're going to do one at 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific, and that will also go in the feed. We're obviously going to get into that as well. Okay, John Calipari at this hour, going to leave Kentucky, take the Arkansas job. That is expected to be made formal at some point on Monday. I'm told somewhere sub 10 million, but more than 7 million or so, the idea of the contract. There's going to be so many millions going to NIL. That's going to be a factor. A 5-year deal. That being said, we figured KB would ask me questions and then I would answer them. So take it away.
Okay, speaking for the chat here, Matt Norlander, what in the universe just happened on Sunday?
What happened was the sport don't float off camera. Most people are listening to this podcast, but people are going to watch this on YouTube. Just don't float off camera, buddy. Okay, here's the deal. So Sunday is when this all ramped up, but John Calipari, as we've talked about on the pod before, I wrote about it. He was not happy at Kentucky. I mean, it wasn't just him. It was people around him, his family, et cetera. And it had become toxic with the fan base. We've gone all over that. Okay. And so we thought that they might have to just suck it up and endure another year or two. Maybe they could make the best of it. However, the chain event of this is this. Rob Lanier, coach at SMU, was fired after his second season. He was fired despite doubling the team's win total and getting SMU to the NIT. Why was Rob Lanier fired? Because SMU is going into the ACC, and some very, very rich people were feeling like they needed to have a different coach that could set them up better in their transition to the ACC. So what happened? They looked around and they thought, the one coach we think that we can get that has some, decent stuff on his resume is Andy Enfield. So for about a week, Andy Enfield vacillated on that. Ultimately, it became a terribly kept secret in the business. He takes the SMU job, opens up USC, which then triggers the exact same process. Eric Musselman becomes the top candidate. They play footsie for 4 or 5 days behind the scenes. Everyone believes he's going to be the one that gets the job. He gets the job. There you go. He's off to Southern California, and Bob's your uncle. Then Arkansas opens. Now, Chris Beard, I was told by sources, was not a top choice for Hunter Yurachek. However, there were powerful people around the program that tried to get that to happen. It didn't. Then it became Jerome Tang. That got pretty close. Jerome Tang pulled out. Other names were connected to the job. But by about Friday, it was really bizarrely quiet. There was no clear candidate. And when Saturday got here, got a little bit of an inclination that maybe, just maybe, it would be John Calipari, because I had sources previously tell me the one I would, and this is 6 weeks ago when I was curious about if John Calipari would actually move on from Kentucky this season, not even knowing what would happen in the Oakland game. I got told if Arkansas ever came open, he's really tight with the Tyson family. Just keep that in mind. Maybe. Sure enough, talks happened over the weekend, really accelerated on Sunday. We have a verbal agreement in place, expected to be made formal on Monday. What else, Kyle Boone?
Okay, so let me stop you here. Arkansas, a very good job in the SEC. Definitely not Kentucky.
Yes.
Right? Why would Calipari leave Kentucky at this point? Why now?
Because he was fed up with Kentucky and Kentucky was fed up with him. If they had to have made it work, they would have gone another year or two. He could have made it work. He wasn't going to leave without getting paid. But I had a source tell me, oh, by the way, I tossed this out there. I know Ohio State fans kind of went, what? But it's true. John Calipari privately expressed a lot of interest in the vacant Ohio State job dating back to February. Now, it never really went down a far road because there was a season ongoing. Diebler wound up winning a lot. He rallied the people around that program. But the point is this, he was looking for different ways out. When Michigan came open, he was never going to be the guy at Michigan, but that was another one that he was intrigued by. Arkansas opening, I was told John Calipari would take a different job for significantly less money if he thought the situation would allow him to win because he was that tired of coaching at Kentucky. This has been a poorly kept secret, I think, around Lexington. And yes, him and Mitch Barnhart went on local television and tried to make good and say, hey, we're just like an old married couple. We get through our problems here. Yeah, they might have been able to make it work, but this was a dream situation that opened up for Calipari. And the people that are around the Arkansas program that were basically right in there with AD Hunter Yurachek got involved, and the Tyson family among them made this happen. A huge financial commitment and a major splash to succeed Eric Musselman.
Okay, so tell me about realistic expectations for John Calipari as he goes from Kentucky to Arkansas.
That's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah.
I would say the realistic expectation is that John Calipari gets Arkansas consistently into the top 25, which Musselman had them for a lot there. He is able to bring in some of the best talent in the country. Also, important context here, like I had a source tell me on Sunday that huge NIL investment, and it's going to be major. And if you told me, I don't have this as fact right now, if you told me that Arkansas's NIL pool was the largest in the sport, I would believe you. I think that the people around that program are so rallied behind the idea of Calipari coming. That's a major one. Bring his freshman class to Arkansas. Let's see if all the commits he had coming into that class for Kentucky, if all of them follow to Fayetteville. And then with portal and getting guys in, it had been a battle with some guys with Mitch Barnhart in Kentucky and the admissions that had been a battle. So having said all that, realistic expectations. If you're an Arkansas fan, and there are some in, oh my goodness, there are Hogs fans in the chat right now.
Whoopee.
Yeah, they are fired up. Keep in mind, Calipari at Kentucky, not made a Final Four since 2015, made 4 Final Fours, won a national title, won more than 400 games at Kentucky. I don't think he's got 10 years of coaching in him. I wonder if he's got anywhere between, say, 4 and 7. We'll see. But realistic expectations, Calipari makes the second weekend. Let's say he's at Arkansas for 6 seasons. All right. That would make him, hold on, let's get an age on him right now. Calipari is 65. Let's give him coach until 71 or 72. I'll even give him 72. He coaches Arkansas until he's 72 years old. 7 seasons, second weekend appearance, 3 of the 7. I'm not going to promise a Final Four because it's hard to make a Final Four. And Calipari has fallen on his face many times in recent memory there. But lottery picks, relevancy in the SEC, but temper the expectations in this regard. Just because he's going there doesn't mean that he's going to be able to absolutely have the same success as Eric Musselman, who was also a little bit bumpy in the regular season. But it's a good question, one that Arkansas fans aren't going to worry about right now because they're riding the high of having replaced Muss with Cal.
Okay, so Kentucky fans, I think by the end of the Calipari era were probably fed up and would have paid for shipping to get him out of Lexington. What does this mean for Kentucky? And did Kentucky kind of get off easy here, essentially offloading him to Arkansas?
Well, and to answer, there is a very, very real possibility here that this is the best result for both sides. John Calipari gets a new life. He's going to be much happier, a new challenge, invigorated, an incredible burst for college basketball in the news cycle. That's just going to, this is jet fuel for the rest of April minimally. So for Cal, I think it's a very, very good, healthy thing for him as a human being. Okay. For Kentucky fans, they're finally like, thank God we don't have to live through this anymore. Like, we love the Cal era, 15 years, more highs than lows, but man, some of these lows were majorly disappointing. And the loss to Oakland is just, it's the nadir. Okay. So Kentucky doesn't have to pay Cal more than $30 million to make him go away. Arkansas now brings him on. He's going to go of his own volition. And with that, Kentucky now is faced with the challenge of who will replace Calipari. The list of potential candidates, I think you could get to 20 names that because of the size of the job, but with the burden of real expectations there.
Okay. So let's name some names.
Okay.
Kentucky job, one of the best jobs in college basketball. Absolutely. There's going to be some high major coaches sitting out there who people do not believe are realistic candidates, who are realistic candidates.
Yes. Okay.
Kentucky.
All right. So it is, again, we're approaching 2:30 a.m. There are some sickos in this live chat right now on YouTube. I appreciate you all for hopping on here. I think some of you Arkansas fans that haven't gone to sleep, plus the West Coast real ones out there. All right, so some names that you'll hear attached, and they could be names that make sense for Mitch Barnhart to try and call and get a feel on. A lot of these are just going to be off the table. Like Billy Donovan has said no to Kentucky twice. I don't think so. Never say never. He's trying to get a team into the NBA playoffs right now. Scott Drew turned down Louisville, and he turned down Louisville because Baylor came back. The president was able to raise a lot of money. Now, I don't think it'll be Arkansas-level NIL money, but a lot of money to reinforce that there. Nevertheless, you're Scott Drew, you're going to get a call. I was told by a source on late Sunday night, Rick Pitino's name would be invoked here. Mitch Barnhart might not be so sweet on him at the top of the list, but there will be people with real influence around that state that try and get that thing moving. We'll wait and see. I believe that Rick Pitino would obviously accept a phone call. Oh my God, if you tell me that winds up happening, it's unbelievable. He is also very, very, very happy at St. John's and his living situation where his life is. I could see him saying, I want to finish it out like this, but we'll see. He recently said on the record, the biggest regret of my career is I wish I had never left Kentucky. We'll wait and see on that. There's some Hurley stuff in the chat. I'm just going to say, yeah, you can call Dan Hurley. I would be stunned, and I think it would be a terrible move for Dan Hurley to leave UConn. He could be a two-time national champion here in less than 24 hours to do that. But I understand it, and it speaks to Hurley's dominance in this sport that he would be considered for a job like this. I get it, but you want to talk about the perfect blend of personality and program. It's Hurley and UConn. I'm not so sure on that. You could get some Buzz Williams run. You could get some Bruce Pearl. You kind of go down the names, down the list there. There's a lot out there. Nate Oates, a lot of Nate Oates. Here's the thing with Oates. The buyout's $18 million, and I don't think that Mitch Barnhart and the people around Kentucky would be that over the moon about spending that much for the guarantee to get him out of Alabama, plus everything that would come with it. And I mean, who knows? Coincidentally enough, the last thing Nate Oates said to me in the stadium on Saturday night as he was getting ready to leave after the loss was, basically, I'm going to paraphrase him, but this was such a painful loss. We get it. They're an amazing team. But we're going to be back. We will be back. He said it 2 times in about a 15-second span. He really likes what he's got there at Alabama. It's really set up. I'm looking at some of these names here. Will Wade, I don't think so. Chris Beard could be potentially there. I'm not sure on those 2 names. I don't know. We'll wait and see on that. But that's an initial list. I'm telling you, there's going to be a long list, and it will be interesting to see the combination of who Mitch Barnhart wants to hire and can get, and then the influential people around the Kentucky program. What name is that going to be? But make no mistake about it. This is a news event that absolutely rattles the sport. Rattles the sport. I mean, and to think that it all started with SMU and what we have here, it has been quite incredible. And the domino effects will continue. We're zipping past 60 openings and none bigger in this cycle than Kentucky. And what we have here between Duke, Carolina, Kentucky, 3 of the biggest programs in the sport having opened here in the past couple of years, it's been insane. It really has been. So that's what I got. You got anything else?
Let's go to sleep.
Well, I mean, it's really, really late here. We're going to we wanted to give you at least something here early in the morning. Nada, you're a champ producing this from afar. KB wanted to help out here. I'm trying to think if there's any other details that I can give you in the here and now before we follow up in the morning. I don't think so. I just expect the deal to be done on Monday. The way it came about was a little bit weird. Like Calipari going dark on Mitch Barnhart and kind of working. And he doesn't have a proper agent. So that's why he's been able to kind of express interest in other jobs. But it was actually in the terms of his contract that if he engaged in a job opportunity with another school, he has to let Mitch Barnhart know. I don't know where all that stands from a legal standpoint. It could be interesting. Maybe they're just fine with saying, whatever, let's just move on here. But yeah, and it's the news cycle is going to news cycle. This has been a legendary night. It really has. This is an all-timer. Was in the car going to a CBS dinner when I decided in the car to just push the button on this and kind of put it out there. And then within 90 minutes, reports are that the 5-year deal was getting done there. Could not possibly have imagined this. And we got an amazing title game matchup here on Monday. The news is the news, whatever. We're going to report on it. We're going to talk about it. We're not going to resist it. But it's kind of a bummer that this thing is going to overshadow the lead up to the title game. And then once we get to there, let's play ball. UConn, Purdue, let's go. Couple of 1 seeds, give us a great game. It's going to be incredible. But
the chat wants to know, is Gary Parrish going to be the next head coach at Kentucky?
He will not be.
Gary Parrish has been silent.
GP was not. Sources tell me Gary Parrish was checking out a Mumford & Sons concert on Sunday night, and that's why he wasn't able to get on this podcast, because there might have been an Uber backup situation. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But that's 15, 16 minutes of some John Calipari to Kentucky, just a little bit to satiate the appetite early in the morning. Again, 2 Eastern, CBS Sports Network. We're going to lead with this on the show, and we'll eventually get to the title game matchup and all that. How about a shout out to Kyle Boone for coming on late? It has been a surreal night and an all-time night in this sport. This is one of the craziest coaching moves, timing-wise, you're ever going to see. Ever. Calipari to Arkansas. Kentucky set to open. How long will that take to close? We are roaring into the final night of the season and the offseason. That's all I got. Appreciate everyone here that checked into the live chat as this YouTube thing is deep into the evening. If you're watching after the fact, that's Kyle Boone. I'm Matt Norlander. We'll have a pod for you before the show, before the title game. Parrish and I will be podcasting after the title game. And then Tuesday afternoon, you're going to get more Kyle Boone in your life, because there will be a Tuesday afternoon CBS Sports Network podcast show with GP and Kyle Boone. I had a flight. Couldn't get it rescheduled, so they will talk about that. But you'll have a GP and me pod to recap the title game late on Monday night. Until then,
wait,
what?
Can you call the Hogs?
I'm not calling the Hogs. Dude, I don't even know if that's how you call the Hogs. And there are people here. We're going to have that phone ring in a second, because the front desk is going to get a noise complaint. That's it. Enjoy the title game. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Appreciate you. Nada, close us down.